And we are live for the UFC 232 post-fight recap show. This is Ringside Reporter. My name is Eric Lorton. I'm here with Joe Habib. And wow is all I can say. Just wow. Let me tell you, Joe, we expected, we kind of expected the fights to go you kind of expected the favorites to win. And the main event was okay. It was just okay for me. But the Cyborg Nunez fight, my God. I went nuts during that fight. I couldn't, Cyborg is one of those people that until she gets beat, I don't think anybody can beat her. Until I see her beat in the UFC, beaten anywhere, I don't think she can be beaten. And man, I tell you what, Nunez put it on her. And I tell you what, since Nunez was coming up in weight, I didn't give her too much of a chance. Even though they said, she's walking around, that's her weight. That should be her weight. She walks around at a higher weight and she cuts a lot down. But I tell you what, during the weigh-in is when I really saw it. When you looked at these two and they were pretty much the same height. Pretty much the same height. Now, a little bit different build. Cyborg was a little bit muscled up, a little bit leaner, the Nunez coming in tonight. Man, I mean, they threw caution to the wind and just started throwing down, man. I mean, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been that excited for a women's fight?
No, I was actually more excited for this women's fight than I was for the main event, to be honest with you.
For sure.
Because Amanda Nunez just has that dynamic style. Her hands are so fast. And I couldn't discount Chris Cyborg's dominance, her size, her strength. But one thing that was glaring to me when I was watching the training highlights, and I know you can't put too much stock into the training highlights because it is what it is. It's just that training. But when you just watch both of these women move their hands, Amanda Nunez has significantly faster hands than Cyborg. Cyborg's more of a plotter type, like a clubber type puncher, but Amanda Nunez, she is a sharpshooter, especially with that overhand right. She throws that overhand right like a pitcher. There's no loop to it at all. It's just like boom, right over the top, boom, and it comes out of nowhere. It's like she's throwing it from her back pocket, and it's hard to really see it if you're an opponent. And she jumped right on her, and I was surprised that once Cyborg got hurt, standing up, she didn't try to take this fight to the ground and get Nunez off her feet. She went right back at her. This was like a war of attrition. I think that the line in the sand was drawn here, and these girls were just going to go toe to toe. There was going to be no holding, grappling, or anything. If basically this was just a shootout, and in a shootout, usually the person who's quicker on the draw wins, and that was definitely Amanda Nunez here.
It was just amazing to watch. I mean, she hit her with those, I believe it was 2 overhand rights, and toward the final, with that final flurry, it was 2 overhand rights, and they were just coming from the floor. I mean, she threw those things perfectly, right over the top. It was two perfect overhand rights, man, and smashed her. And Cyborg just crumpled, man, and it was like, and I tell you what, Cyborg had heart. I mean, you can't say she didn't have heart, man. She had a lot of heart. She tried to fight out of it, but I mean, she just got rocked, man. Nunez, when you come after her like that, I think that Cyborg thought she was going to be much stronger than her because she's been much stronger than like everybody else she's ever fought. And I mean, it was amazing to watch, man. I did not think Nunez, I did not expect that from her. I thought it was going to be a good back and forth fight. But I thought Cyborg wins, again, to me, until she was beaten, you don't think she can lose. It's kind of like a John Jones or, somebody along those lines. Until they're beaten, I don't know that they can lose, and man, I mean, she's been the #1 woman for years. Even when Ronda was in her heyday, everybody always knew that Cyborg was out there, and everybody always knew that Cyborg would just smash Ronda. It was. Wow. Just amazing.
And that was the one opponent that Ronda never seemed to be too anxious to fight either. She ended up
No way.
fighting Nunez, but she never wanted to fight Cyborg.
No, and Cyborg's very avoidant. Nobody wants to fight Cyborg. We had, who was the one, and I can't remember her name, but she was like a Thai, like a Muay Thai fighter. She was fighting in the UFC, but she had a background in Muay Thai. She had a lot of professional Thai fights. Very, very popular, very good fighter. And said when they matched her up, they wanted to match her up with Cyborg. She said, nope, no, thank you. And I mean, that was a girl that you thought, wow, she could really give Cyborg a run here because of her skill and everything like that. Yeah, she didn't want any part of her. She didn't want.
She wanted no part of it.
No way.
Part of it.
And isn't Cyborg a black belt, a jiu-jitsu black belt? I'm not. I think if she's not, she's up there.
Yeah, she's very well versed in jiu-jitsu
for sure. I mean, like I said, if she's not a black belt, she's real close.
Yeah.
And to your point, yeah, I mean, when she was hurt, but you wonder how much she trains on. She's primarily a striker, and I guess she figured, that Nunez is going to stand up. Nunez doesn't want to take it to the ground.
No.
I'm sure she can work when she gets there, but neither one of these guys really wanted to go to the ground, and that's what made it so exciting. And you just, man, it's like, what a fight. I came out of my seat and just was screaming through the entire fight. I mean, it was nuts. As soon as they just came out and just started banging, and it was incredible.
It was a fight fan's dream.
Amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. And you talk about you talk about boxing and women's boxing, and you got stars in there like Clarissa Shields and Katie Taylor and stuff. And I'm thinking, why aren't their fight? Why aren't we excited about, like, I mean, this was just such on another level as far as excitement goes, and you got to think, why aren't we excited for that? Why are, in boxing, you're not the same way about these fights. And I think a lot of it has to do with promotion, but a lot of it has to do with these guys, man. They put it out on the line when they go out there,
Absolutely.
So, all right, let's talk about the main event here, man. The main event, John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson. Kind of went the way I thought it would. Jones looked a little bit rusty. I texted you after the first round, said he looks like he's breathing real heavy. And it kind of looked like he was a little bit slow, a little bit off his game, but at the same time, so did Gustafsson. Gustafsson didn't look that great either.
No.
And Jones did a great job with the kicks, keeping him at distance, keeping him at bay with those kicks. He hurt him in that second round. He hurt him in the legs. And the third round, John Jones just pounced on him, double legged and took him down, and ended up taking his back. He put him in that. What did he put him in that half Nelson? Back mounted him, and then just started raining shots on him. And there was nothing Gustafsson could do at that point. He was just out. I mean, he was done.
Yeah.
And then after the fight, of course, he calls out DC Daniel Cormier and says, I'm home now. Come get your belt. This and that. And Daniel Cormier tweeted out, he says, he says he should win. He said, dude starts with a head start every time. Hashtag USADA fake. Hashtag Johnny Brasco. And everybody's clamoring for that fight. I don't think DC should fight him again, honestly.
Well,
both times they fought, he got popped. He got popped both times. Both times he fought DC, he got popped. Gucci Kid just said it was Jermaine Durand to me. That's it. That was the girl that was going to fight that I thought should have fought Cyborg, and she didn't want to. She said, nope, no, thank you.
No part of her. Yeah. And the thing is this too. DC's definitely better at heavyweight than he is at light heavyweight. For him to even be able to make that cut as thick and big as he is, it's amazing that he hit himself down at 205. It really is. Yeah. And if John Bones Jones is going to be considered like the best of all time, then he should go up to heavyweight. Because Daniel Cormier, champion in 2 weight classes. John Bones Jones, I mean, he's been a champ in 1 weight class. That's not to take anything away from his ability, but I think he should. He said he wanted to go up to heavyweight before his career was over. He said he wanted to fight Brock Lesnar at heavyweight.
Right.
So why not fight DC at heavyweight? And then he's like, well, I don't want to. I don't want to give him age. Blah blah blah. And that's all well and good, but you called him out. If you're going to call him out, fight him at the weight class that he's campaigning at. He vacated the light heavyweight title.
Right.
Apparently, he doesn't want it and he doesn't need it at this point. He's 35 years old. He's getting older. So, make that jump to heavyweight and fight him at heavyweight.
I agree.
That's the only fight that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to call him out, it makes no sense for him to shrink down from 240. I think he was like, what is he, 240 in his last fight? Cormier was?
I'm not 100% sure what he was. I thought he was like 230, but I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But I know
he was up there, ways away from 175
or 205.
205. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm thinking boxing 175 light heavyweight.
Yeah.
I tell you though, you know what irritates me more than anything is they were talking about Jones and saying, well, he never did lose, he never lost the light heavyweight title. He's still undefeated, at the light heavyweight. He never lost it, Yeah, he did. All right, you can't go out there and do steroids or PEDs or whatever you were doing, cocaine, any drug you want, and then get suspended. There's consequences to your actions. Okay? There's consequences to your actions. Just like they say he's never lost a fight. Yeah, you lost to Matt Hamill. You did a 12-6 elbow. That was illegal, and you were disqualified. You are not undefeated. You were winning the fight. I give you that. You were, but you're not undefeated. And you never lost the belt. Yes, you did. You lost it. You can't. There's consequences to your actions, and people got to start making them be accountable for that too. They need to start. When you talk about this guy, you have to hold him accountable for those things because your actions have consequences. You can't go out there and use PEDs and get popped and expect no consequence, except, I guess this time in the UFC. And after the fight, I'm sure he's going to test dirty again. But what do you do? But that's what irritates me about this when they say stuff like, well, he never lost the light heavyweight title. Yeah, he did. Your actions have consequences. Nobody else has gotten popped for this. Nobody else, and again, you may not lose it in the ring, but you can lose it. You lose.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is going to be a cloud that's going to forever hang over his head. And the interesting thing is, in the lead up to this fight, they were talking to the other fighters on the card, and other fighters on the card were being interviewed, and they were asked questions about how do you feel about having to fight in California instead of Las Vegas. Everyone was pissed. Everyone's like, well, I didn't expect to have all this tax taken out. The UFC should give us one. Yeah, the UFC should give us a bonus because obviously we know the tax rate in California, and we all know that Vegas doesn't have a state tax, so they were going to be making more money in their checks, and no one was happy about that. No one was happy about how they had to cough up money to bring their friends and family along, and it wasn't that much of a big deal in terms of it's a 40-minute flight, but it's still an extra an extra amount of money you have to put up for the flight, number one. Then you got to get more hotels and stuff. And there's a lot of media that, like Luke Thomas, he couldn't go to Vegas because he was already, he couldn't go to California because he was already set in Vegas and he didn't have the funds to relocate, whatever. So there's a lot of media that couldn't take part in this. And another question that they were asked was, do you believe that John Jones knowingly took the drug? Do you believe the story that USADA and John Jones is putting forth? And everyone said no. No one really believed it. So his own peers that he's fighting against, they all think he's dirty. Not just Daniel Cormier. Not just Daniel Cormier.
Right.
So you could say what you want, and so much was made about, oh, well, all I had was a picogram in there. If you think that that's going to give me an advantage, yeah, but did you start with the picogram? That's the question. Did you start with the picogram? You know what I'm saying? Because it just, the science is just so flawed because nobody really knows. Like Dana White was talking about, the experts. But are these experts really experts? And who are these experts? Are we ever going to have them come out and explain this to us and talk to us? Like I was watching like Dave Palumbo and Lee Priest. They do like a podcast, and there's another guy, John Romano. These guys have been taking steroids for years, and They didn't buy it. They're like, there's no way that this could stay in your system for a year and a half. There's no way.
2 years. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
You know, so no one was buying this story, and unfortunately, this is going to take away, some of the shine from the victory, because that drug is an archaic drug. It's used for powerlifting, as you said. It's used as a masking agent. We don't know what's going on here. We just don't know what's going on here. And the big question is, why isn't everyone else popping for it? Why is it just him? And that's gonna forever be the question that is gonna be unanswered. And why not go with VADA? USADA has had a checkered past. They've given certain athletes passes in the past. They've, and the sneaky thing about it was, I guess there was 2 other tests that he failed. I think there was a test he failed in August and one
twice.
And
to this,
but those tests weren't revealed to the California State Athletic Commission.
No, and they weren't. I mean, as soon as he popped in August, it should have been coming out. I mean, and this whole thing could have been prevented. You could have got somebody else to take his place. You could have there's a million different things that could have happened. But instead, you let this guy fight, and I don't understand it. I just don't get it.
And that's the thing. That's the thing too. I hate to beat a dead horse, but I was always skeptical, even in boxing, when all this come out, like how they're going to do third-party testing with USADA and VADA. I always said to myself, you know what? The guys that are at the top level, they're going to get preferential treatment. They're going to come up with excuses to get to allow them to be able to fight. They're going to come up with, I didn't know it was there. It was in the supplement. I always knew that was going to be there. But also, too, if the fight is too big to fail, then they're going to find a way to make the fight go forth. Now, you could look at Canelo and Golovkin and say, well, that was a huge fight. Why didn't that go through? Because Golovkin didn't want to fight him.
Yeah.
That was Golovkin. If Golovkin wanted to fight and said, hey, I don't care, I'll fight him regardless, then the fight probably would have happened. They probably would have relocated it somewhere. But this is the thing too. Like, Vegas is supposed to be, take the lead when it comes to stuff like this. They're supposed to take the lead, and when they don't allow something, an event to happen, usually all the other commissions follow suit. What happened here? Now, now the thing is this: Vegas has a zero tolerance. But regardless, even if you can prove that you took it unknowingly, even if you proved it was in a supplement, even if you proved it was in the meat, whatever the case may be, it's a zero tolerance. So if the way they're talking about it is this thing's going to always resurface, so he may not be able to ever fight in Vegas again unless Vegas changes that rule.
You wonder because Vegas is going to have to take a look at it, because he's going to fail his post fight. And that was the funny thing too, is that they came out and said, he failed his drug test. And then they came out and says, let me clarify this. He didn't fail his drug test. Well, if he didn't fail his drug test, then why on earth did we bring this out? Why did it come up? Why did it get flagged? Did Gustafsson get flagged? He passed a drug test.
Yeah, he passed, of course.
And it goes back to, in boxing. I mean, when you talk about Canelo Alvarez, and he tested positive for clenbuterol. First thing he did was point it at steak. Well, I eat a lot of steak, and it's this and that in Mexico. That's how it goes. It's in they give it to cows, blah, blah, blah. Mexican fighters, it's not like every Mexican fighter doesn't eat steak. It's not like every fighter from Mexico doesn't get popped. I mean,
why hasn't Gilberto Ramirez ever popped? Right. Why hasn't Abner Mares ever popped? I know he goes to Mexico a lot. He's Mexican.
Exactly. They eat steak, I'm sure, when they're down there.
Yeah.
And that's just a thing, man. It's like, and, clearly, you have it in your system. And, what DC said made a lot of sense. He should win. He's got a head start in every fight. And he's right.
And again, we've said this several times. It's not what's in you the night of the fight. Yep. It's what was in you in preparation for that fight. Because what you see on fight night is a reflection of those weeks, those days and weeks of camp. And what you're doing in the off season too. He's sitting there powerlifting and doing all this stuff on the off season. And I'll give the guy credit. He trains like a beast. There's no question about it. He's a great fighter. He's a smart fighter. and he trains like the Dickens. But at the end of the day, this is gonna just hang over his head. And if you look at Gustafsson and you look at him, they're the same height, they're the same age, they're the same weight. Look at Gustafsson's body and look at John Jones's body.
That's the thing.
I mean, look at him. He was ripped to the bone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he just looked so much different in terms of.
Yeah, that's a great point. I saw it at the weigh-in yesterday. I mean,
they look totally different. They're the same exact body type, body frame, height, just about, and weight. Okay, and just look at the difference in bodies.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Can't tell me he's not doing something. And it's been proven he's got. Listen, that stuff just doesn't show up in your system just cause.
So now,
you know what I mean?
So now, all the shit that happened with Frank Mir got busted with the same substance, and he was bringing up the same points about that John Bon Jones is bringing up. No, is this a long-term thing? Whatever. They were like, doesn't matter. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, this is definitely preferential treatment.
Frank Mir's not bringing in that money.
John
Jones is the money guy now. McGregor is. You don't know if McGregor's going to fight again. Who else they got? Bones is one of their biggest stars.
Daniel Cormier, he's already said that he's going to retire soon. He's 35 years old. He'll be.
He's fighting Brock Lesnar next.
Yeah, that'll probably
a boatload of money,
and that'll probably be his last fight.
It should be, because he's got nothing to prove. The guy who beat him twice cheated both times. Cheated.
Yeah.
Cheated both times.
Yeah.
You were